Hey everyone, welcome back. So today is Wednesday. There's a lot to talk about. So there's going to be chapters in the bottom. You guys can scroll through the ones you want because it's going to be a pretty long video. We got a lot to cover. So as always, we're going to cover the charts of Bitcoin and Ethereum, see what's going on. Bitcoin is still looking a little bit bullish right now, at least on the short term. We'll take a look at it. We'll take a look at the miners, see how they did today. We'll also take a look at the Voyager bankruptcy that's going on. So we'll take a look, cover that a little bit, give you guys my thoughts on it as well. We'll also take a look at Hut 8, Riot, and Cleanspark production updates for June. So there's going to be a lot of talking about that. Riot didn't do so well compared to May, but we'll get into it as to why. And obviously, two of the miners here sold for the month of June. Their BTC holdings, one didn't, so we'll cover that as well. And we'll just get into it as always. So, as always, not financial advice. You guys know the drill here. I'm invested in the following coins and companies. And let's get into Bitcoin here and Ethereum, and then we'll get into the miners. So here's Bitcoin right now on the 1 hour chart. It is at 20,480 roughly right now. It has gone up quite a bit here in the last 12, 14 hours or so. So we did fall back down a little bit. We were still looking a little bit bullish here between these two ends here on the chart, which is the red one here. On the RSI, we've obviously come down on the RSI, and we've continued to go back up. The good thing is RSI has gone up slower than the price has from this time frame. So we're back to where we were. We're even a little bit higher, but the RSI is even lower here than we were. So that's still leading me to believe that we are in a bullish short-term trend. We'll obviously see how this plays out going forward, but right now it's looking pretty good. Ethereum, if we look at Ethereum, Ethereum is going up. Ethereum is actually kind of pumping right now. It's up to 1,189. And the same thing can be said here. We can look at the peaks here where we were back here at 11,064. And RSI was at 73, and the RSI right now is, let me zoom this over, is a little bit lower. It's about 70, so RSI has come down while the price has come back up. So that's looking short-term bullish right now on it as well. I don't know where it's going to end up at, but obviously we're getting pretty high. I think we're probably going to end up falling here a little bit, taking a little bit of a relief. Same thing with Bitcoin. We can see it here on the chart that we are getting close. So I think Bitcoin has a little bit more room to run going up, so we could get up to maybe the 20,800, maybe even 21,000 before we start actually falling back down a little bit, just as a little relief rally happens there. So that's on those guys there, and let's take a look at the miners here really quick. So something new here. Let me know what you guys think of this, putting the information here on the screen. So obviously the Dow Jones was up today a little bit, so was the NASDAQ. Bitcoin we covered already, same thing with Ethereum. But Sphere 3D was actually down today 4.73%. So was Argo. Argo was down 4.76% to 40 cents. Bit Digital was down 6.67% to $1.40. Bitfarms was down 9.3% to $1.17. Cores was down to $1.61, down 5.85%. DigiHost was actually up to $1.06. So it was up 0.71%. DMG was up 0.99 as well percent to 19 cents. And then Hive was down 4.15% to $3.23. Hut 8 was down 7.38 to $1.38. Iris was down 2.65 to $3.30. Luxfolio was down quite a bit, 13.2% to 9 cents right now. Marathon was down 6.92% to $5.65. Mawson was down 6.19% to $1.06. Riot was down 4.23% to $4.53, and Stronghold was down 2.79% to $1.74. And we can also take a look at possibly the BTC hash rate here. So why don't we take a look at that chart there, and we'll see how that looks. So here's the BTC hash rate chart. Right now we are at, what is that roughly? Doesn't say here. Previous open. Where are we at right now? We're at 170,000 or 170 million right now on the BTC chart on it. So the hash rate has been falling down a little bit. Obviously, the miners are getting concerned, and things are starting to fall down a little bit. So let's take a look at our first story here of crypto Voyager, and we'll talk about it here a little bit. So Voyager obviously files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, and this is obviously all because of Three Arrows Capital, $650 million that they had with them. But here's the important parts of it that I highlighted. So in a statement, the company said it has roughly 1.3 billion of crypto on its platform and holds more than 350 million in cash on behalf of customers at New York's Metropolitan Commercial Bank. Voyager obviously suffered huge losses from its exposure to crypto hedge fund Three Arrows Capital, which went bust last week after defaulting on loans from a number of firms in the industry, including 650 million from Voyager, obviously. So that was owed to them. Here's a quote from him. We strongly believe in the future of the industry, but the prolonged volatility in the crypto markets and the default of the Three Arrows Capital requires us to take this decisive action, Voyager CEO Stefan Ulrich said in a tweet early Wednesday. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of volatility, but had they not been so over-leveraged, I don't think they would have been in this boat. And it's not just them. It's obviously Celsius, BlockFi as well. They just got way too over-leveraged and possibly bet on too risky of bets, possibly like UST with Terra Luna. So it is kind of their own doing, unfortunately, and hopefully they can get this resolved going through this Chapter 11 bankruptcy. But continuing on here, Voyager says it is still pursuing the recovery of funds from Three Arrows Capital, or 3AC as it's otherwise known, including through court-supervised proceedings in the British Virgin Islands and New York. So we'll see if they can actually get those funds back. Last week, obviously, Voyager paused all withdrawals, deposits, and trading on its platform due to current market conditions. Several other companies, including Celsius, Babel Finance, and Vald, have taken similar steps. So we're obviously seeing this contagion happening here, and it's spilling over to others as well. But here's the restructuring plan. So Voyager said the bankruptcy proceedings would allow it to implement a restructuring process so that customers can be reimbursed, which this would be obviously a good thing. I'm not sure if they're going to get a whole 100% of what they had in there, but at least they're going to get possibly something, if not all of it. So if all goes according to plan, users would receive a combination of crypto in their accounts, proceeds from the recovery of funds from Three Arrows Capital, shares of newly reorganized company, and Voyager tokens. So they're not saying you're going to get 100% back. It sounds like you're going to get at least something back. Clients with US dollar deposits will regain access to their funds once a reconciliation and fraud prevention process with Metropolitan Commercial Bank is complete. So it's obviously going to take a long time to get this all sorted out. And, the tough part is, there's a lot of things that happened with the macroeconomics here that are in play, with the Fed slowing down everything, raising interest rates, everything fell with the crypto. But I think it's on them. Obviously, they were over leveraged, in my opinion, and it just one lent to the other. So let's take a look at that here really quick. We'll see how this works out. So let's say you have a bank or a lending firm. Lending firm A. You, the happy camper, sent over your 1 BTC to them to stake, right? And they were giving you, let's just say 8% on that BTC that you deposited with them. They, in turn, sent it over to another firm that lent it from them. We'll call this firm B. They're charging firm B 10% on that BTC that was basically lent out to them. So they're going to pay you 8%. They're going to pocket 2% for themselves. Right? They're going to pocket 2% for themselves. Everybody's happy here. Then firm B lends it out to firm C. Firm C could then possibly, buy UST. They could buy some BTC and some other, crap coins that they wanted to, or whatever they wanted to do with it. Once everything started falling down and Bitcoin price and the whole market started going downwards, everybody started to lose basically their margins. And when you get margin called, you start having issues. So it becomes a cascading effect where whatever happens at this guy here will affect this guy and this guy down here, and ultimately will affect the happy camper here that was trying to get 8% yield on their BTC holdings. So the short story, or the moral story of this, is don't be over greedy. I guess, that's a tough thing to say, don't be over greedy. I guess be careful, obviously, with your coins, right? So the big saying is obviously not your coins, or not your keys, not your coins. So get your coins off of exchanges, get them off of these DeFi programs, high yield farms, whatever you want to call them. Get them out of there, put them into cold storage, hardware wallets, whatever. Just get them off of there. because I think there might be still more contagion that's going to happen down the road here as these things unwind. But the other thing is obviously don't be over greedy. Invest only what you're willing to lose, basically, no more than 10%, I would think, of all your investments that you do have in it. So I think we're still a little bit more pain ahead of us from all of this. I don't know exactly where we're going to end up with BTC. BTC looks like it's pretty well oversold right now, but we still could obviously fall a little bit more. But only time will tell on that, and we'll see how it all plays out going forward. So just a word of caution, be careful out there, right? And get the coins off the exchanges if you can. All right, so let's get into the mining stocks here really quick, and we'll take a look at the numbers as well for them. So Hut 8, production update for June. They increased its Bitcoin holdings by 328 BTC in the period ending June 30th, with 7,406 unencumbered Bitcoins in reserve. So this is kind of important here. Unencumbered meaning that they are not being lent out or used as collateral or anything like that. So that's good there. Hut 8 remains committed to its HODL strategy, which is right now probably a good strategy, especially where Bitcoin is so low. And if they don't have to, number one, sell any of their Bitcoins or dilute shares, I would say that's a good strategy to do right now. If they have enough capital or if they're getting enough funding from their other ventures that they have with their data services, data warehouse services that they also provide. So if they're able to maintain things from that, I think that's a good strategy going forward, obviously. But if it turns out that they have to actually sell, or not sell, if they have to sell their BTC, that's fine. But if they have to dilute shares in order to continue to hodl, I would say that's a bad strategy there. All right, continuing on here. So production highlights, 328 BTC were mined, resulting in an average production rate of 10.9 BTC per day. 100 of the self-mined Bitcoin in June were deposited into custody, consistent with our long-standing hodl strategy. Total Bitcoin balance held in reserve is 7,406 as of June. Installed operating capacity was 2.78 exahash at the end of the month, so a slight increase from the prior month, which is good. And then their high-performance computing business, which is not correlated to Bitcoin or Bitcoin mining, continues to bring in steady monthly recurring revenue and remains on track to grow about 18% by the end of the year. So hopefully this, high computing business side of the business is bringing enough or generating enough revenue for them to cover the expense of electricity and everything else for the Bitcoin mining. If it is, that's great. And then that way they can obviously hodl for quite an extended time, I would think. So that's it for that, for Hut 8. Let's take a look at what I have for them, and we'll look at the numbers. And we'll take a look to see if they're undervalued or overvalued. And right now, everybody's undervalued, in my opinion. So obviously, shares outstanding for Hut is 175 million. Stock price right now is about $1.49. And I should have updated this. I did not update this. I apologize. So Hut 8 right now is at, let's see here. If I look at my cheat sheet here, it's $1.38, so we're not too far off from that. So market cap is about 261 million. Institutional ownership is at 22%. About 180 institutions own it. And BTC HODL is obviously 7,406, valued at approximately 148 million right now. And it's about 56% of their HODL position is part of their market cap right now, which is insane. And one share has 84 cents of BTC HODL right now. So way undervalued in my opinion. Looking at their production here for the last couple of months, we can see obviously in June, they had 328 BTC. Their hash rate is at 2.78 compared to 2.6 in last month. So a slight increase there of about 142 petahash increase, which is pretty good. And then obviously 309 BTC mined in May compared to the 328, which is also good as right there. That represents about 6.5 million in revenue for the month of June, which is obviously a decrease of from May, which was 9.8 million roughly at the ending price of Bitcoin for May. So that's about, 3,300 or so, 3.3 million less in revenue for the 2 months compared. Overall hash rate growth, this is the quarterly. Obviously, Bitcoins held in May was 7,078. Now we have 7,406. That's a difference of, basically, they sold zero right there. That's what we're calculating here. Everything that they made, they deposited into their HODL position. So that is all good and fine there. Going down to the miners here for June, we added the following miners here. We also dropped their days mining to 25 based on what was reported up above as far as them making, which was here, the 6.5 million. In order to get to that number, we had to drop the operating days here to 25. We also dropped the Ethereum mining revenue to $1 million basically, and we got it down to 6.5 million down here. So all of these numbers are calculated in Canadian, and then we're converting them over to USD. So this is 6.5 million, which is in line with what they mined as far as BTC. So we installed basically 1,533 of these 93 terahash miners. Those are coming into play here, which will obviously add into their revenues going forward. And so we should see an increase in, hopefully, in July on the revenue side if Bitcoin stays where it's at, or if it at least goes up in price. So it would be a good increase in July. Okay, so there's that. Oh, while we're down here, we might as well take a look at the analyst ratings and institutions. So institutions did increase by about 5. Shares did increase also by about 3.5 million or so. A little bit over 3 million. And obviously a percentage owned has increased as well. We did have obviously one increase in strong buy, and regular buy is still 4, 0 hold, 0 underperform, 0 sell. The price target is 920 for the high, 562 for the low, for the average, and 383 for the low, which is lower than what it was the month prior, but still not bad. It's still almost, what is that, 800% increase from where it is right now. So as far as the high is, but that obviously all depends on where Bitcoin goes in the next couple months, and then can they execute on getting all the miners installed, and everything else has to play in line with that. And then looking obviously at their numbers here, we're using the price earnings multiple of 20 on them. Right now, everything is just so much lower than where it should be. So currently they are at about, if we go far enough low, they're about a 2 PE right now based on the earnings that I'm seeing here. So we're obviously using the last 3 quarters earnings plus this quarter earning, which is going to be about $28 billion right now if we're in line with it. And we're using obviously the last quarter and the 2 prior quarters of that, and we're getting to 153 million combined revenue. So we're using the 75% net income of gross revenue to get 114 million. And obviously if we increase the PE to about 10 to 15, at 10 it would be at 655, at 15 it would be at 982, which is pretty in line with the high estimates on analyst ratings as far as where they see it possibly going to. Obviously, if Bitcoin goes even further, goes up higher and better, stronger, we could be at a PE of 20, so we're looking at maybe 13, but I would think $9 and something change would be pretty good estimate as far as where we could possibly be at with a PE 15. And it also depends on their growth. So if they provide that they're going to be growing, they're going to be doubling their future hash rate. Right now, they're currently going to be about 3.2. If they double that, well, obviously that could obviously have an impact on the stock price as well, and increase the value for shareholders as well. So that's it. Obviously a good quarter, or not a good quarter, well, good quarter and a good month for Hut 8. So far, they're the only ones that haven't sold their BTCs in June. We've covered the other ones, Bitfarms, Core Scientific, DigiHost as well. They all sold a portion of their BTC. And we know also Riot and Cleanspark have sold, so we'll take a look at those next. But good month for Hut, obviously. So let's take a look at Riot Blockchain now. So Riot Blockchain, in June, Riot produced 421 BTC, which is great. As of June 30th, Riot held approximately 6,654 BTC. In June, Riot sold about 300 BTC, generating net proceeds of approximately 6.2 million. And Riot currently has a deployed fleet of 42,455 miners with a hash rate capacity of 4.4 exahash per second. So that is actually lower than in May. But we'll get into it here. They actually explain what's happening with that a little bit. And that obviously has affected the numbers that I have for them. During the month of June, we achieved full operation of all 23,000 S19 series miners in the first immersion cooled building at our Winston facility, Building F. So that's fantastic. They're going to obviously get some incremental hash rate increases from that. We don't know whether it's going to be 20%, 25, 30%. We'll have to see and wait until we get some data from them on that. That will obviously help them out as well. And in June, they had to curtail their energy consumption for a total of 8,648 megawatts. So we did lower their days that they were mining in June as well, based on that. And then mining deployment and shipment updates. So Riot announces that it has begun transitioning all of its miners hosted at CoinMint LLC's Messina, New York facility. The transition will consist of both a relocation of the miners to the company's Winston facility and by way of a miner swap agreement with Riot, which Riot has entered into with another Bitcoin mining counterparty. This initiative is underway and approximately 5,700 miners are currently offline and temporarily not counted in the deployed fleet figure. So that's obviously having an impact on the production in June. And we'll take a look at it here shortly. The good part is, obviously, as they are in the process of being redeployed, it is expected that the company will ship the balance of its S19 miner fleet presently at CoinMint to the Winston facility in July. So that'll obviously bump them back up, hopefully. And as a result of the relocation of miners, the company expects to further reduce its cost of production through lower power costs and by eliminating all third-party hosting fees on its hosted mining fleet, which is also really good. So, they're going to really reduce their electricity usage and obviously for the hosting fees on that as well. So that's obviously more money in their pocket. So that's obviously a good thing as well in that one. And I think, estimated hash rate growth. So by January 2023, Riot still anticipates a total self-mining hash rate capacity of 12.5 exahash, assuming full deployment of approximately 115,450 miners ASICs, but excluding any potential incremental productivity gains from the company's utilization of the 200 megawatt immersion cooling infrastructure, which, like I said, we don't know exactly where we're going to end up with 25% or 30% increases in hash rate on those miners. All right, and let's get into the numbers. I think that was it. There was nothing else that I wanted to cover. So let's take a look at Riot here. And Riot is right there. So Riot obviously has right now 135 million shares outstanding. Let me zoom this in for you guys a little bit more. 135 million shares outstanding. Stock price is about 473 right now. It went down a little bit today to 453. So that's a market cap about 640 million. Their current hash rate is about 4.9, and that's incorrect. That's 4. Let me see here. It's 4.2. 4.9 is going to possibly be there. Why am I at 4.4? Is that correct? Are they at 4.4? Did I make a mistake here? Let's see. Double check just to make sure that we are at 4.4. Okay. So they are at 4.4. I'm using the end all hash rate here at the bottom. So that's where that's pulling it in. So total is going to be 12.6. They're saying 12.5. So that's obviously a little bit of a decrease from where they stated they were going to be at. But that basically represents they're at about 38.5 or so % operational right now. Average hash rate per miner is about 104 terahashes right now, which is pretty good. And we still obviously have a long ways to go before they are fully installed, but not too far off. Obviously, if they're saying they're going to be by the end of the year, that's going to be a lot of miners that have to get installed in that time frame. HODL position is obviously 6,654. That's valued at 132 million right now. It's 20% of their market cap right now, and each share is about 98 cents worth of HODL in it. Looking at their BTC production, it has been a downward trend here for the last couple of months, which isn't good. So if we look here, they peaked at 511 in March. In April, they had 508, May 466, and in June 421. So hopefully they can reverse this trend. And even if they had the one extra day in June here that you had in May, they still wouldn't have beaten May's production, unfortunately. And that obviously dropped them down to about a 0.0956 Bitcoins per petahash compared to the 0.1012 that was in May, which was obviously better. I think April was probably, no, not April. March was their best month other than June here, which was at 0.13. That was an even better month there for them. But looking at their BTC HODL for May was 6,533. Now it's 6,654. So they sold 300 miners, and I'm using the price. Probably should be using like 23,000. They said 6.3 million or something like that they made from it. I'm off a little bit on this one, but that doesn't really matter. We're just looking at it to see what they actually sold, or if they sold anything at all on that. So that works out that way. Let's take a look at the miners that we did install here and which ones we got rid of or turned off, basically. So if we look at June here, I basically turned off these miners here, the 5,000 or so miners at 110 petahash, roughly. So that got us down to where we needed to be. And then we also installed these miners here, the 3,500 and 4,400 of the 90 terahash miners installed here. And that was it. And that got us to the number which was over here, the 8.4 million basically revenue based on Bitcoin's ending price in June. And let's see, where was June? June is here. So if we go down here, we're at 8.4 right now. And we did drop them down, obviously, to 23 days instead of 30 days, because they did say that they were shutting down for X, but they didn't include the days, they included the watts. So that got them down to 23 in order for all of this to make sense. And if we look at institutions here, we're also seeing institutions growing for them as well. So in July, they increased their institutions by 3. Number of shares also increased. Percent owned decreased. I wonder if it's based on issuance of shares, whether there were more shares added into the circulation here. But we still have 2 strong buy ratings, 7 buy ratings, 1 hold rating. And the price has come down a little bit. Target high of 42 compared to 50 that we had, and the average down to 21.50 from 31.50, and the low to 14 from $20. So we're kind of seeing this across the board for the most part on the miners. You're getting lower ratings or price targets, if you want to look at it that way. And right now we're using obviously the PE to 20. We're looking at approximately combined total revenue for the last 4 quarters, about 187 million, and we're using the 75% net income from gross revenue of 140 to get to approximately $20.78 at a PE 20. Right now, they're not at nowhere near that. They are at, if we go down, I can't even go. So they're about a 4, I would say, 4 to maybe like a 3.5 PE right now on earnings. But they could easily obviously get to 20, I would think, especially with how high their hash rate's going to be, and the incremental increase from their immersion cooling as well. So that's going to help them out. So based on that, I would say $20 is definitely doable. The analysts are saying $42. You would be looking at, to get to 42, a PE of, what would that be? Close to 40. Yeah, a PE of 40 would get them to about 40 based on that. So I think anywhere $20 is, I would think, be a conservative bet that they could probably get to that. And if Bitcoin pumps, they could obviously go a lot higher than that. But 20 is kind of the target where we're looking at right now on it. All right, so I think that we covered pretty much everything here that we wanted to cover in Riot. Obviously they're got some challenges. They're moving the miners over. They're also curtailing their usage to help out the electrical grid. So that's obviously affected the amount that they're mining. So we'll see if they can improve on that going forward. And so it was an okay month. It wasn't a great month. Obviously, a great month would have been BTC production rising, but hopefully once they get more miners installed, that will definitely improve going forward. So hopefully we're at the low end here of where they are with production. All right, so that's it for Riot. And let's take a look at Cleanspark here. So Cleanspark, obviously, production update for June. June monthly production of 339. Total BTC holdings as of June was 561. Total BTC converted for operations and growth in June was 328. And then currently deployed fleet of approximately 28,500. Latest generation miners, hash rate exceeding 2.8 exahash. So they're exceeding that. I have them at 2.8 right now. And then the company fully funded growth and operations through the sale of 328 BTC in June at an average approximate price of 25,000. So that's actually a pretty good average price right there. And then the sales of BTC equated to proceeds of approximately 8.4 million. So that's obviously good. And then the June daily BTC production reached a high of 12.1, which is also good. They're obviously growing their hash rate here. Energy business, they're getting out of that. Obviously, winding that down. They're going to be pretty much fully Bitcoin mining here in the next couple quarters, it looks like. And let's take a look at the numbers here that I have for Cleanspark. So Cleanspark is over here. All right, so about 41 million shares outstanding. And Cleanspark right now is trading at at the close of today was at, why don't I have Cleanspark? I don't have Cleanspark on my list here. No, let's see here. Let's take a peek. Cleanspark, there it goes. It was at 405, so 30 cents lower than it is right now. So about 175 million or so for the market cap. They are at 2.8 exahash right now. Future hash is about 4.4. So they're about 63% operational. They did say that they are looking for advantageous opportunities to possibly purchase more miners. We'll see if anything gets reported on that. BTC HODL is 561, so that's valued about 11 million right now. And that's only 6.29% of their market cap. And each share is basically 27 cents worth of HODL in it. Looking at the production here, we can see here that starting in January, they had 305 mined. February was 276. March was 318. Went down a little bit here in April and in May, but they definitely made up for it here in June with 339. So they are back into positive increases month over month. And let me zoom this in for you guys a little bit more. There we go. So you can see it here at 339. So a nice increase there, obviously, from month over month, even though they had one last day here. So that's a good thing. So they did increase by about 27 more Bitcoins over May, and their hash rate increased by about 300 petahash from May as well, which is also good to see. They did obviously sell some Bitcoins, so they had 550 Bitcoins at the beginning or at the end of May. Now they have 561, so they sold 328 for about 6.5. They said they sold it at 25,000, so that's obviously why that's off. I'm using the price at the end of June, which was obviously lower, like 19,000 something. So that's going to have an effect on it. Looking at the miners that we added in here for June, and they made, 6.7 million roughly. In June, we added the following miners here. So we added 580 of these 100 terahash miners and 1,920 of these 100 terahash miners as well down here. We did not have to curtail any of their days of operation. And let me see here. Oh, we also got 500 of these miners installed as well. 100 terahash down here. Those are at 20 days roughly, and we're pretty close there. We're at 6.79, so right around 6.8 million, and at 2.8 exahash right now. And let's take a look at their institutions. So institutions increased quite nicely. So they had 110 institutions in beginning of June. Now in beginning of July, they have 155, so an increase of 45 institutions. Shares didn't increase that much. Only went up to 12.84 million compared to 12.35. So about, 490,000 shares were bought, but that has obviously increased to 31% of percentage owned. We do have one upgrade here, so we do have one strong buy and now two buy ratings. 0 holds, 0 underperforms, 0 sells. The price target went down to 16 from 30 here on the high, and it went down also on the average to 1267 from 23, and the low went down to 10 from 16 as well. But at least we're seeing, institutions getting into it here as well. So looking at them right now, based on the amount of shares that they have outstanding and how much they're going to be making, they're going to be making about 126 million roughly right now in the last 4 quarters. 75% net income from gross revenue represents 94 million roughly, and we're using the PE of 20. That would get us at $45.85. That would obviously be a huge increase. I think we need to see more of a future hash rate growth in order to get to a PE of 20. So I think anywhere between a 10 and a 15, so like $34.38. What did the analysts have them at? The analysts had them at $16, so they actually went down from 30. So at $16, you're looking at a PE of 7. And they are trading right now at a PE of, what are they at? They're at 432. They're trading at about PE of 2 right now. So if they're saying 16, you're looking at a PE of 7, I would say probably around 15 or so would be my bet. Around $34 where I would probably see them based on their installation, their growth, and they're not diluting shares by obviously selling BTC, which is also great. But the reason they might be looking at a lower price is because they do have a smaller HODL position than some of the other guys out there. But I kind of actually like it. So I think you can do both. I think you can do selling and HODLing, and I think it's the best of both worlds, especially now since market has gone way down. So yeah, I'm happy. Good month of June for Cleanspark here. As you know, I'm invested in them, so just for full disclosure, as always, Do your own research on all this stuff. I try to have as accurate data as I possibly can. I may not always get it right. And thankfully, you guys are there to point it out to me, so I always appreciate that. So if I do have a mistake anywhere here, you guys notice it, let me know. I do appreciate you guys putting those out to me, and I'll correct it as soon as I can. Obviously, the stock prices need to be updated, and those will get updated before I send this out to the Patreons later on tonight. And thank you to my Patreons for their support. So, like I said, the spreadsheet is available to Patrons. What else we got going on? Obviously, we're going to have more miners going on tomorrow, probably. We're going to probably see some more on Friday. We still have quite a few to get through. And then once that is all done, we'll do the quarterly miner versus miner, see how each one progressed as far as hash rate growth, Bitcoins produced, all that stuff. So that'll be kind of fun, but that won't be for at least another week or so. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Obviously, Bitcoin is still going up right now a little bit. We'll see where it ends up. But it's always nice to get a green data on Bitcoin. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. And that's all I ask from you guys. As always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.